If I ask you what 1 plus 1 equals, you would easily say 2. Even a child in a nursery class can say that. But in today's story, 1 plus 1 equals 1. You might have heard many stories, but I can tell you that you've never heard a story like this before. After watching this movie, I was completely silent for a whole day. I could never imagine the story of the movie would end this way. The story of the movie is shown in 2 timelines. In one timeline, we see the past life of the main character, Nawal. And in another timeline, we see the present time of Nawal's son and daughter, Jenny and Simon. Unlike the movie's storytelling, we won't describe the story separately in 2 independent timelines. Instead, we will narrate the entire story from the past to the present in one timeline for your convenience. The movie's story begins with a domestic conflict between Christians and Muslims in a country. Nawal, a Christian girl, falls in love with Wahab, a Muslim refugee, during the war. Despite societal resistance, they decide to be together. However, Nawal ends up in the hands of her 2 brothers, while fleeing, who kill Wahab immediately. To protect family honor, Nawal is also supposed to be killed, but her grandmother intervenes and saves her. Later, Nawal informs her grandmother that she is pregnant with Wahab's child. The grandmother, concerned about the potential threat to the child's life, shouts at her and leaves. After some time, the grandmother brings food for Nawal and warns her that if anyone finds out about the child, they will kill both her and the baby. She suggests Nawal give birth at their place, and once the child is born, Nawal can continue her education in the city, leaving the child with an orphanage until a safe time to take the baby back. Nawal agrees to her grandmother's plan, pledging her commitment. After a few days, Nawal gives birth to a baby. Right after birth, her grandmother carefully cuts 3 small marks on the baby's right foot's sole, so that in the future, Nawal can easily recognize her child. Nawal places her hand on the baby's head and declares, "I promise, my precious, I will find you one day." Later, the grandmother takes the baby to an orphanage, and Nawal goes to the city of Daresh to study under her uncle's guidance to fulfill her promise of protecting her child. There, she begins her education right from her uncle's home. Several years pass this way. Alongside her studies, Nawal actively engages in the internal politics of the country, showing interest in the prevailing socio-political situation. One day, the Christian nationalists close down their university campus. Soon, news spreads on the radio that Christian nationalists have shut down the university campus. While eating at home, Nawal's uncle tells everyone that Muslim refugees have attacked the villages in Nawal's region. Due to this, Christian nationalists have decided to close down the university campus. Nawal, upon hearing this, worries because her son is growing up in one of those villages, and if he falls victim to the war between Muslims and Christians, Nawal might never see him again. She decides to bring her son back to her care, so she lies to her uncle and leaves the city. The internal conflict has disrupted communication in the country, making it challenging for Nawal to travel. Despite facing hardships, she manages to reach her village by bus, van, truck, and even on foot. Unfortunately, she discovers that the orphanage has been attacked and destroyed. Spotting a person in the distance, she inquires about the fate of the orphanage's children. The man informs her that Muslim warriors, led by Shamsuddin, retaliated against all Christians, killing them. However, some children escaped and may be staying at a camp called Daresa. Nawal, shattered by this revelation, summons courage and decides to go to the Daresa camp with a renewed purpose. After walking a distance, she sees a bus with ordinary Muslim people. She opens her cross necklace and persuades the Muslim driver to take the bus to the Daresa camp. The driver agrees, and as she sits on the bus, she falls asleep for a while. When she wakes up, she finds the bus surrounded by Christian extremists who killed the driver and others on the bus, except her and a mother and her daughter. They were about to set the bus on fire when Nawal revealed her cross, declaring herself a Christian. She also tries to save the little girl by claiming that she is her daughter. Realizing their mistake, they spare her but brutally shoot the little girl when they understand that the girl is not her daughter, and the bus is engulfed in flames, leaving a profound impact on Nawal. Enraged by its impact, Nawal holds a grudge against Christian nationalists from then on. She eventually reaches the Dersa camp, only to find it destroyed, surrounded by the stench of human blood and decaying flesh. Fearing her son might be dead, she decides to join the Muslim warriors secretly. Despite trying to gain the trust of Muslim fighters by revealing her husband, Wahab, was a Muslim, and her son was killed by Christian warriors, they remain skeptical. To prove her sincerity and seek revenge, she convinces them to accept her into their group. The main target of Nawal was to kill the leader of the Christian community. So, using her skills, she's employed in the leader's house as a French language teacher for his son. One day, when she comes to teach the leader's son, She enters the house with a gun hidden in her bag. Realizing the opportunity during the lesson, she shoots and kills the Christian leader in front of everyone. The present soldiers immediately capture her. She is then transferred to a prison called Kafar Rayat for brutal torture. Later, her head is shaved, and she is confined in a small room measuring 3 feet by 7 feet. Inside the prison, neither confinement nor inhuman torture could subdue her. She would stroll within that small room, singing loudly to the Christian soldiers, gradually becoming known as the female singer within the prison. The Christian soldiers, angered by her unbeatable mental strength, would often resort to violence. They always desired to break her mentally but never refrained from using physical torture. Eventually, they initiated daily rape, subjecting her to abuse. Due to one such assault, she became pregnant. She gave birth to twin babies in the prison hospital, with a nurse from the prison assisting in the birth. After the birth of the baby, a person from the jail goes to throw these 2 babies into the river, but the nurse refuses to let them go. Instead, she takes responsibility for the babies herself. Meanwhile, a few days after giving birth, Nawal is released from jail. Muslim warrior leader Shamsuddin meets with her. He tells Nawal, "You have suffered a lot for us. Now let us help you. Go abroad. There, you will be given a house and a job, and you can take your children. Your 2 twin babies are under the care of a nursewoman. We wish you happiness in your future life, and your children will support you in building your future." Nawal takes her 2 children to Canada and begins living there. The 2 children were a boy named Simon and a girl named Jenny. Nawal works as an employee under a person named Liebel in Canada, where her life is going quite well. One day, while Jenny and Nawal are bathing in the swimming pool, she suddenly sees a person with 3 small tattoos on the right ankle, which were drawn by Nawal's grandmother during the birth of her first child. Despite trying to talk to the person, Nawal remains silent and unable to speak. Nawal falls ill soon after that incident, and her health deteriorates rapidly. In desperation, she asks Liebel to write some letters and draft a will, and the next day, Nawal dies. After Nawal's death, a letter from Nawal's office reaches Simon and Jenny from Liebel instructing them to listen to the will in his office. The will states, "I, Nawal Marwan, bequeath all my possessions to my 2 children, Simon and Jenny, to be divided equally between them. My final wish is that when burying me, I be placed in an inverted position in the grave, naked, without a coffin and funeral, facing the earth, with my back towards the sky. There should be no tombstone on my grave." Upon hearing this, both Simon and Jenny are surprised. Mr. Liebel reveals that there is a sealed envelope for Jenny. Jenny is tasked with finding her father, and Simon is assigned the same task for his brother. Another letter awaits them after completing their tasks, but they must resist opening it until then. Knowing all this, Jenny and Simon are shocked, because Jenny and Simon have known for so long that their father passed away long ago, and they have no more siblings. Jenny then questions Liebel, "You know we have no siblings, so why did she write all this?" Liebel says, "I don't know anything about that." Later, Liebel shows Jenny a passport and a cross of her mom, lifting Jenny's anger. Liebel then tells Jenny, "Your mother wasn't crazy, Jenny. Since she wrote that, it means she had a purpose." Jenny sees Simon standing by the car as she arrives. They exchange words, but Simon refuses to acknowledge what's mentioned in the will, wanting to not carry out his mother's last wish by burying her normally. Jenny, however, desires to act according to her mother's final wish. When Simon doesn't comply, Jenny angrily leaves. Jenny was a math teacher at a university, revealing everything in her mother's letter to the university head and seeking a break to unravel her mother's secret. The university head suggests trusting his friend Dores named Hader for assistance, and Jenny leaves for Doresi for her visit. It's where Nawal studied. Jenny reaches Hader and, upon meeting him, Hader says he can't help her because he is in Paris at that time. Disheartened, Jenny goes to the university registrar, shows a picture of her mother, and asks if they recognize her. The registrar reveals that the woman studied there 35 years ago, and feeling uneasy, directs her to another person. Jenny, upon showing her mother's picture, is told it was taken in a prison called Kafar Rayat, with a symbol from that region visible in the background. Hearing this, Jenny heads towards Nawal's village. There, Jenny meets a family, happy to see a foreigner who takes great care of her. Only Samia, a girl, speaks French. Others converse in Arabic. Through Samia, Jenny tells them about her father Wahab and her mother Nawal Marwan. She is told that Marwan's family was not respected in their village. Samia warns Jenny that if she is Nawal Marwan's child, no one in her family will help her. They prefer to distance themselves. Despite this, Jenny expresses gratitude and leaves. From there, Jenny, unsuccessful, goes to see the Kafar Rayat jail. A person there shows Jenny around the entire jail. Jenny, showing her mother's picture, asks, "Do you recognize this woman? Is there any connection between her and this jail?" The person cannot help but provide the address of an elderly person named Fahim, who worked in this jail 35 years ago. Following the person's lead, Jenny arrives at Fahim's address. Showing her mother's picture to Fahim, Jenny asks, "Do you know this woman?" Fahim declines assistance. Jenny then reveals, "This woman is my mother, and I'm trying to uncover her history." Fahim responds, "I used to work in that jail. She was known as the Singer Woman number 72. She murdered leaders of the Christian warriors. Her spirit was as strong as a mountain. Despite all efforts to break her mentally, the jail authorities did everything, but she never broke. Her face was like a burning inferno. Unable to break her in any way, they sent Abu Tariq, a torturer, repeatedly to break her mentally by raping her. After that, within the jail, she became pregnant. In various places inside the jail, news spread that Abu Tariq impregnated number 72. Inside the jail, she gave birth and was then expelled from the jail. Upon hearing such a heartbreaking history about her mother, Jenny breaks down in tears there. She gathers herself and asks Fahim if he has seen the child. Fahim denies knowing the child, but reveals the nurse who assisted in the childbirth at Darez. Jenny contacts Simon, informing him about their mother's distress and the possibility that their brother might have been born there due to continuous rape. She urges him to come. Simon, after meeting Leibel, learns that finding their brother requires investigating their mother's history first. Before reaching Jenny, he emails Mr. Muddad, a local person, seeking assistance. Mr. Muddad willingly helps them, and Simon goes directly to Jenny's hotel room from there. Jenny provides him with the nurse's address and a photo, revealing that the nurse is currently in a hospital in poor health. On that evening, Jenny and Simon meet Mr. Muddad and Leibel at the hospital to see that nurse. The nurse, recognizing them, is very happy. When Jenny asks about the child born in Nawal's jail, the woman says, "Both of you are those children. I saved you both. After that, when your mother was released from jail, I handed you over to her." Simon and Jenny are shocked to learn that their father was not Wahab. Now they realize that they are the result of continuous rape, born to the jailer and torturer, Abu Tariq. Then they wonder, where is their brother? The next day, Mr. Muddad, Leibel, Jenny and Simon sit together at the dining table. Mr. Muddad says, "Your search for your father is done. Your father is Mr. Abu Tariq. I investigated and couldn't find Abu Tariq's death certificate. Many have left the country after the war, including him. Now about your brother, the child named Nihad, placed in an orphanage called Kafarkot, later destroyed after 4 years. Fortunately, the orphanage was destroyed by Shamsuddin, and he is still alive. If you find Nihad, completing your mother's task will be done." On the way, Mr. Muddad tells Simon, "You will go to Daresa refugee camp where I'll arrange a companion for you. They are very hospitable. Someone will call you for tea asking about your arrival. Then you tell them you're the son of that singer woman and searching for Nihad." Simon goes to the Daresa refugee camp where someone invites him for tea and asks why he came. Simon tells them what Medad wanted him to say. After talking with them, Simon calls Medad, who tells him to wait. The next day, 2 people visit Simon's hotel room, offering help to him and assuring him to return him within an hour. They blindfold him and take him to a room. There, Shamsuddin reveals they did all this for personal safety. Simon seeks help in finding someone named Nihad, revealing he is Simon's brother. Shamsuddin then asks everyone to leave, allowing Simon to finally open his eyes. After that, Shamsuddin tells him that the orphanage for Christians was attacked for avenging the killings of our Muslim brothers. "We attacked the orphanage to seek revenge, but we did not harm any of the children there. We took all the children with us, including Nihad. He was different from the others, a talented boy. We trained all the children to become warriors like us. Nihad stood out with his exceptional abilities. In his adolescence, Nihad fell into the hands of Christian warriors during a battle, but instead of killing him, they trained him like one of them. He became a skilled warrior and worked as an executioner in the infidel camp. There, he changed his name from Nihad to Abu Tariq. Nihad and Abu Tariq are essentially the same person. After the war, he changed his identity and moved to Canada. Now, he is known as Nihad Harmani there, leading a modest life. At the end of Shamsuddin's conversation, Simon returns to his hotel room. Simon asks Jenny if 1 + 1 always equals 2. Jenny, a math teacher, realizes that Abu Tariq and Nihad are the same person. Have you understood? In other words, Simon and Jenny's elder brother is their biological father, as he raped his mother. On that day, at the edge of the pool, seeing 3 scars on the leg of the person, Nawal recognizes him as the son he lost, only to find out that he was the rapist jailer who had assaulted her. She got raped by her son year after year. Overwhelmed, Nawal couldn't deal with it. The realization that her children, Simon and Jenny, are the product of that countless rape by her son makes her physically ill, and she dies. In the film's conclusion, Simon and Jenny fulfill their mother's last wish by delivering the final 2 letters to Nihad. Opening the first one, Nihad reads, "I am the prisoner number 72. that jail. If you open the other letter, you might turn into a living stone. With hesitation, Nihad opens the second letter, which reveals this letter is for my son. Now, I no longer speak to a jailer. You, my son, had those 3 tattoos on your right ankle done after birth. I've searched for you all my life. When I found you, I had nothing more to say. Yours, forever, your mother, Nawal Marwan. Reading this, Nihad stands still like a stone, standing with the letter in his hand in total silence. On the other hand, Simon and Jenny open their mother's will. Written there, I promised your brother that I would find him after his birth. Today, I have fulfilled my promise. Now, you can place a monument on my grave where my name will be written, and that's how the story ends. If you like stories like this, please subscribe to this channel.